What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Going Rogue podcast. We have got a special guest today. We're going to sit down with arguably the GOAT of the Highland Games, Spencer Tyler, talk a little bit about what he's got going on this season and also some stuff he's got in the works that I'm really excited about that I don't know too much detail about. So you guys are going to kind of watch me learn, which could be painful. So sorry. But before we get to that, we got a couple of things to mention. The usual, which is our sponsor reads. Kilted Patriot not only is sponsoring the podcast for this year, they have also stepped up and they're now a flagship sponsor for the Woodridge Farm Celtic Festival. So if you guys ever get the chance to go on there, show them a little bit of love. It's also a way to support our games and the podcast. If you tell them that we sent you and you want anything that you happen to donate there to also benefit us, just let them know. And we appreciate it either way. So please go check them out. Check out Anvil Strength. That is Danny Autry's gym up in Alaska, and his company. They produce some really cool shirts and do some really cool programming. Danny also puts out a ton of really cool media, especially on YouTube, is where I find his stuff to be pretty sweet. So you can go check him out, Anvil Strength. Give them some love as well. And then if you want to come hang out with us, the sign up is still live for the Woodridge Farm Celtic Festival. That is September 19th and 20th this year. We also have stone lifting. So if you've got some friends that kind of are touching our weird little sport, but maybe do a little more of the strongman style competitions, we've got something for them on that Saturday as well. Blue Ridge Championship invites will go out at the end of this month. So if you have not updated your state of residency in heavy athlete, please go do that. So that when I pull rankings, I'm getting the right info, because once those invites go out, they are out. So enjoy the episode, guys. I think it's going to be a good one. Peace. Ta-da. So, and I'm going to assume that everyone knows who you are also for the purposes of us recording this. But on the off chance that, let's say we have some new, poor, uneducated thrower, we have Spencer Tyler on today, who I'd at the risk of sounding ridiculous, is at least in the conversation for GOAT of the sport. I mean, I think that's fair to say, because at one point in time, what, 6 or 7 world records at one point?
Yeah, I think and it, it's funny. It depends on who you ask. Indoor versus outdoor. Some people say it's up to 9. I still say it's 5. But Vlad may have broken. He did. I just don't know if it's been verified yet. But he went, I believe, 19.6 or 19.7 in weight over bar.
He threw a heavyweight for what was reported to be 19.6, which would be a new world record. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, so, you know what? Because am I crazy? Have you held a spinning and standing wob record?
Yes.
Has that been? Okay. Then we're going to go off topic for a second. Because I want to know where you stand on that. Should they be separate records?
100%.
Or should it just be wob?
No, it's 2 completely different events. I mean, I don't really know how to, like in strongman, you cannot sumo deadlift. They consider that that's another touchy topic on what's the biggest deadlift, sumo or conventional. I 100% believe spinning wob and standing wob are 2 wildly different events, because I never trained spinning wob. The day I broke the record was the first day I tried it, and I went 20'6", and never really tried it again. And trained my fucking ass off for weight over bar standing, and went 19.5 in training. I had kissed the bar at 20. But dude, I had to work my ass off to get up to that height. And spinning, first day I tried it, 20'6".
Well, then if they're completely different events, why do we allow them in the same course of play?
That's a wonderful question.
Does that make? Because like that's always been my contention for they should be the same record, is because if someone was so moved, they could take 4 throws standing, 2 throws spinning, go back to standing, go like all within their same flight, same group of competitors, same day, same implement, So that's always been why it feels so weird to me that we split them.
Yeah, I honestly believe that a spinning weight over bar should be more of an exhibition event. That's my feeling about that because at the end of the day, well, a couple things. Spinning weight over bar is far more dangerous than standing. So
Hmm.
much more can go wrong. Uh, Me personally, again, I never really trained it, but even when I did dial it in on that day, I still had no real idea where it was going to wind up. And I know there are people who are super efficient in the spinning wob. You got masters like Overfelt, KO's really good spinning wob.
Hmm.
As far as the women go, Adrian's really good at spinning wob. But God dang, man, I don't know. It's always felt to me like that is a little bit of a handicap advantage going
Yeah.
into it because everybody can stand there and throw wob. And I think that needs to kind of be standardized. And I think most championship events, they don't allow spinning.
Okay.
No, that's
See,
on the
and
men's side. I believe on the women's side, they've allowed spinning in championship events, but I've never seen
okay,
it done. It's never been allowed at Worlds for the pros at least. Is
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Huh.
it's kind of a standalone thing in my opinion. I mean, it's like the keg over
Yeah.
bar too. Vlad broke
Yeah.
a
See,
world
that's
record for keg over bar, and I sent him a video of me spinning with it, and I threw it 35 feet, and he threw it 28. But he was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, you got to use two hands." So there's the argument for
That's
that
just
too.
that's just so weird. But I like the idea of viewing it more as an exhibition. But then you'd have to start, you know, to use your word, standardizing. There'd have to be some sort of rule as far as when you can and can't do it. You know,
Right. Yeah. When I
like,
went head to head with Thor for the Rogue Record Breakers, I asked him there. I
mhm.
said, "Hey, can I spin? Because I'll beat him." And of course, everybody there was like, "Well, do you really think you can?" I remember old Kazmaier was like, "No, spinning's cheating." I said, "Well, if you want a shootout," I was like, I will beat him spinning. Like he doesn't stand a chance."
Yeah,
And they wouldn't let me do it there.
lame.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, hey, you touched on kind of one of the big things because I don't. I thought about adding all the bio elements to this, but honestly, there's enough out there about you to where if someone doesn't know about Spencer Tyler, they can figure it out, and that's been done to death. But you use the word standardize, and
Yep.
I love the word standardize, and a lot of people don't. But that was kind of one of the big things I wanted to have you on to talk about because you have, I don't know what the right word for it is because I know it's still relatively early form. At minimum, an idea, if not a full on concept and a path to implementing some sort of standardization in the game. So, like, do you want to give us a broad overview of what that is? You know, how are you working toward making that a thing?
Yeah. So, a lot of people have tried different leagues, series, this, that, and the other, and it always just kind of seems to fizzle out. And I'm
Hmm.
really trying hard to avoid that. So I'm taking it a little slower than my initial approach, but I want to make sure all my ducks are in order and make sure we hit the ground running with it. We have a couple games on board. Um, right now, we had our first shot at it with the platform at the Celtic World Championships outside of Boston with No Fame Game, and it went really well. We had one world record broken, and that was Berger. You had him on talking about that, and then he got real close to the lightweight as well.
Hmm.
So the biggest thing, and this is after a couple of years of me kind of polling. When I get done with an event, I immediately walk to the crowd and I start talking to folks out there. And the biggest gripe, well, not gripe, but the biggest pain point for people actually watching the competition is they have no idea what a foul is. They don't know what our trig is. They can't see. A lot of times you've got a
Hmm.
thin orange line on dead grass, especially here in Texas.
Yeah.
You can't see the lines unless you're standing right on top of it. They don't understand the 1 foot in, 1 foot out rule. That's never really it's never really broadcast to a spectator. Now, if you're a thrower, it's a different story. You know what's going on, but
Hmm.
99% of people stumble upon Highland Games. And I kind of want to change that, and I think standardizing is the way to do it. Um, First and foremost is implementing a platform. Uh, I've built a couple different ones, and the one we landed on in outside of Boston for No Fame Games was perfect. The turf we used, you could use cleats or you could use flats. Either one worked great on the turf. I threw half of my throws in throwing shoes and the other half in spikes. A lot of
Hmm.
people use spikes. It worked out fantastic. It doesn't move. It doesn't change between throws. You can throw the first four events out of there, and it is the exact same on every single rep, and that's the way it needs to be. Um, as far as weights go, like I talked to you a little bit before we started recording, I had some meetings
Hmm.
with Fourth Throws, and they seem to be showing interest in making some standardized weights. So we're going to have a follow-up meeting with them here soon as track season, is dying down for
Hmm.
this year. They can actually, invest some time into Highland Games. They seemed really interested in it. So
Yeah.
hopefully the goal there is to have a competition set of weights, and that's available for anybody to purchase. And me being me as a professional athlete, my goal would be I want to throw with what I'm going to compete with. In track, you get to
Hmm.
sign in your own implements. And Highland Games, you show up and throw whatever they lay out for you. It'd be very
Yeah.
nice to know what you're throwing coming into it. That way you can really dial in. You can really focus on putting some big numbers out there. Once big numbers come out there, people start looking a little more. People want to see freaks in
Hmm.
action, and that's what we're trying to do. And I also want to. I'm going to go after some bigger sponsors. That's part of the plan. Some legitimate sponsors that will not just local, nationwide stuff. They're really going to help us
Yeah.
push because, man, right now the men's and the women's pro groups are so stinking elite. It's I'm glad I'm getting old because, God dang, man, and my training's been hit and miss, but when I dial in, I'm like, okay, I can still hang. I got a shot to win back, a couple years ago. I walked in knowing everybody was shooting for second. Uh, Now
Hmm.
it's just the cream of the crop is so thick and so freaking good. And the women's group, I know that's been part of the contention for the women's group is they have like one or two just studs, and then everybody
Yeah.
else. There was a big drop off, and then like a bottleneck at that upper level, but not quite pro state.
Hmm.
Now the women are lights out. There's just all of them. They put on a great show. It's just it makes sense. Now's the time to do it if you're going to strike. People need to know who these athletes are, and that's my goal
Yeah.
is to slowly kind of transition to behind the scenes and just really pushing the sport out. The Highland Games gave
Hmm.
me so much. I've got to try my hardest to give something back to it.
No, that's an awesome way to look at it. I was talking with someone about that this past week. Um, I really like. I mean, I like all of it. So when you're talking about trying to decide what I want to pick at first. So for this entity, are you comfortable telling everybody like what it's going to be called, like
Yeah,
the name
sure.
you've got picked out and all that stuff? Yeah. So the what'd you say? The Celtic.
It's
I'll
a
let you so I don't
so
mess it up.
it's the Celtic Championship Series. There is a website up now. It's still kind of in the works. It's CelticChampionshipSeries.org, I believe it is. I do have a database that is specific to this series.
Hmm.
So the database is operational. It's already up and running. But the only way to get entered into that database is to compete in one of the games that is sanctioned by our organization.
Yeah, I really like that because I don't know how much you've ever like tuned into some of the interviews that we've done or the episodes with me and Matt chatting, but like we had talks about what could move the Highland Games forward, and is it derby style games where like every section of the country all select one of their upper games that feed into some sort of championship, or is it standards for pros and like drawing a hard line even though it might hurt some people's feelings, or is it standardizing implements and all that stuff, and then how do you go about that? So it sounds great. How many, so I know you said you tried it out at No Fame. Have you got any others on the calendar for this year to like stress test more of the implements or the platform or the format? Like,
I've had talks with a couple other games. I don't know where they stand 100% yet, so I'm not going to put them out there. But there's
mhm,
a couple games here in Texas that are maybes. There was one in Oklahoma. I don't know if we're going to pursue that any longer because, from what I understand, that may just go away. But I'm sure you're familiar with Buck Buchanan. Um,
yeah,
yeah, just hell of a guy. And talking to him, he's got some real desire to implement this on the East Coast. And I'm going to
mhm,
talk to the SAAA over on the West Coast. Um, I think we're looking good over there. So we're going to
yeah,
try and have some regional games, and the goal first year, and this is what my holdup is to just really get it going because competing in a world championship for the Celtic Championship Series, I know there's going to be a lot of redundancies in the games. I don't want it to turn into boxing or powerlifting with all these different federations.
mhm,
I want it to be so attractive that everybody sees what we're doing. And it's not for
yeah,
me, it's not for any one person, it's for the sport and it's for the athletes. And the only way to make it grow is to keep pushing it. And right now it's just stagnant. Nobody's really pushing.
yeah,
Everybody's just okay with where the budgets are. Everybody's okay with, the level of athleticism. Everybody's okay with the athletes that are in now. I want to go grab some monsters from around the world. And
yeah,
athletes follow money. So
mhm,
my first world championships, and again, this is the goal. Don't know if it's going to happen, but this is the goal. First world championships for men and women. First places. I don't want it to be anything under 10K prize.
yeah,
There will be a significant drop off from first to second, but everybody would be guaranteed $1,000 to show up and compete. Um,
mhm,
so that's the goal. And if we land some of the sponsors that we're chasing, I think that's wildly doable. Um,
yeah,
and then just getting a good media team, because the best thing for the sport right now, if you follow Josh McIntosh with No Fame Games, there's nobody that even comes close to what he's doing with media for Highland Games.
yeah,
Um, oh God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. The dude up in Alaska, Alaska Strong, I think
Danny,
is Danny. There you go.
yeah,
Autry,
Danny,
yeah. He's
mhm,
starting to put out some really, really good stuff too. So, people are investing some energy into it, and that's all great for the sport. It's got to look
yeah,
good and it's got to sound good.
mhm,
So, our first
and it's
run,
gotta make sense, you know?
exactly, and
Like,
that's the biggest thing. It's got to be digestible to somebody who's never seen it. To
mhm,
somebody who stumbles across it via YouTube, Rumble, just Instagram or Facebook. There's got to be something that catches and keeps you involved, and knowing the rules and seeing what a foul is. That's why, again, we want to do standardize a wing trig. You start in, you finish in. There's no 1 foot out, 1 foot behind. It just gets
yeah,
it gets too muddy with one judge. He's got to focus on the back
mhm,
right corner. This is for right-handed throwers. He's got to focus on the back right corner and the front left corner at the same time. That's asking a lot. And then
yeah,
I don't know. Something's got to change. And I know a lot of the pushback I get is, well, you're getting really away from the historical uh, value of the throws or whatnot. And I'm like, shit. The stone throw. When I threw in Scotland, I never threw a stone. I only threw a shot put.
yeah,
And
I
we're
I've
not
never
playing.
understood the yeah,
Well, another thing, and
I
then the Scottish folks, I'll tell the Scots right now, like, well, you want to keep it traditional. It's like, well, you're not playing. Your other national sport is golf, and you're not playing golf with wooden sticks anymore. You know, we're
yeah,
we're not playing football in leather helmets anymore. Like, something's got to change. We've got to bring it up to the times a little bit, but keep everything else. It's still traditional, still Highland Games. We're still
yeah.
throwing heavy shit as far and as high as we can.
Yeah, we're still in a kilt. You can still have announcers and producers and all these people talk about, the weights are based off of stones and they're named this or that after historic regions or based off of this old, blacksmith implement, and you don't lose that just by modernizing some things.
Exactly.
And there's a group of people in the games that seem to like don't want change for that reason. And then there's another group that I had this long conversation with Nick the other day on the phone. Ponzio, I'll throw his name out there. He doesn't care if people get mad at him,
Yeah.
but like where some people see the sport growing and getting more competitive people in the sport, like it's going to take something away from them, and they feel like this standardization and making things more modern and bringing in outside people who are here to make the athletics really good somehow takes away from what they have done and are doing. And I find that weird because it's not the case. Because if someone says, "I don't like Spencer Tyler's Celtic Championship Series," like, cool, don't join it. Don't go do it. Keep doing what you're doing. You're not preventing anyone from running the games they want to run or doing things the way they want to do them. Like, none of it's mandatory. But there are some people that just get so fired up and upset when someone comes in with an idea of how to do something differently than how it had been done.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird mentality for me. Instead of like what you said early on in the episode with, look, I'm gonna start taking a back seat so I can push the sport forward so that I can get behind the scenes and try and, make some progress in other ways. Like it baffles me that that's not some people's approach, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
Weird.
that's been kind of a pain point with me really since I started taking Highland Games and myself serious. Is I never understood, and this is one people quietly agree with me, but out loud they don't. Where obviously in any sport, amateurs, it's kind of like reoccurring revenue for a business, right? You have your big sales, you have the big things that get
Mhm.
eyes on you, which is your pro class. But what drives everything is the amateurs. They're wildly important. In the same breath, the amateur class, now this may morph into something in the future because I believe there needs to be a actual path to becoming a pro for men and women too. But as
Mhm.
it sits now, part of my thing with this championship and where it's kind of hard to get some people to sign on, it's like, hey, when the pros are on the field, they're kind of running the show. They need to be the main. It needs to matter. It needs to matter to the event. It needs to matter to the spectators, and it needs to matter to all the athletes, not just the pros. But when I was coming up the ranks as an amateur, anytime I was at a game with the pros, if we were throwing at the same time, in between every single throw, I would walk over there and watch what they were doing. I did not care about what I was doing because I knew, hey, that's what I want to be. Like, that's where I'm heading.
Mhm.
So I need to go figure this out ASAP. And that just it's some of it, and COVID had a lot to do with this. It really got, COVID was a disaster for Highland Games, such a disaster. Um,
Mhm.
but it's kind of turned into, God, I don't know how to politely put it, but it shouldn't be a popularity contest. It shouldn't be a participation ribbon contest. If that's what you want to
Mhm.
do, if it interests you, fucking great. Get out, throw, go out, find a local event and compete. But I can run 100 meters without stopping. I should not be racing Usain Bolt in the final of the Olympics. I,
Yeah.
I, I have not earned it yet. So you've got to earn it.
I don't think you're going to tick anyone off that I haven't already ticked off on this because I have been shouting it from my tiny little soapbox for years that like if you're going to call something a championship, there should be a clear set of standards for why it is.
Mhm.
No one should have to guess. There should be no ambiguity. There should be eh, no question. It should be clear cut, publicly available standards as to why this is what it is. And
Absolutely.
that's whether it's a pro championship, an amateur championship. If you can't point to me and tell me why those people are there in a black and white, make it make sense format, and that is performance related, then I don't know why it should matter.
Yeah.
I
Kind of like
I have a
Worlds this
hard
year.
time, dude. World's a lot of years. We can keep it. we can go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to lose an invite to Worlds. I'm not even good enough to get popular enough for anyone to care. So like, I don't
Yeah.
give a damn. But it confuses me. There's different ways to do it, and whether you agree with someone's metric or not, it should at least be a publicly available metric.
Hmm.
Like, you should at least be able to stand behind your product and say, "This is why I invited this person."
Yep.
You know, I because I there are parts of like the Celtic Classic, for example. I don't think it matters for athletic performance that there were clan tents and bagpipers at your festival. I think a 18-foot wob is an 18-foot wob wherever someone throws it, right? As long as it was a 56-pound weight, as long as the standards were decent and the judges were halfway sober.
Yep.
Like, we've accomplished that. But say what you will, I don't agree with it, but at least I know what the Celtics standards are. They have standards. I can look at it and say that these scores were taken into account because the game met XYZ criteria.
Yeah.
So I can't complain but so much because it's publicly available and I understand how they made their call. But then you have something like Worlds where I don't even know everyone that was invited unless I send some text messages and ask questions. And then I'm confused as to, well, why isn't this person going? Why isn't that person? Why is this person? What it
Oh, I can get into that.
oh, please do.
Yeah. So,
Enlighten me.
man, I'll tell you, it always seemed pretty clear cut who was going to go to Worlds. You want the best there.
Mhm.
End of discussion. Last year I got snubbed for Worlds, and before I start, this is not a sorry, scratching my nuts on camera.
Yeah, no,
This,
you're getting excited. It's fine.
yeah, this isn't a poor pitiful me story by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, I go compete and immediately jump up to number one in the world. It was a good day, and the way the numbers worked out, I was number one on the metric, except for one where I think Lily was above me, but there was discrepancy on the wob number he had. So I don't know, something. I really don't give a shit. But either way you looked at it, I was either number one or
If it's
number
first,
two.
yeah, or two, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And I got snubbed. Didn't get an invite. The invites came out after my rankings. And some of the invites were like, well, who the fuck is this? Even is this guy? Like, who are these
yeah.
people?
Why is number 14 going? It's not like 3, 4, and 5 all went. It was
Yeah, it was
very
bizarre.
spaced out.
And then, Vlad, a lot of the European guys, I've gotten to know them really well over the years. Hell, Glenn and Peter, I competed against Peter like in 2012 or something way back when, or 2008. I've known him forever. Been competing against Vlad since 2016 and Glenn the same. I know those guys pretty well. And all three of them were actually pissed off when they saw the invites coming out. They couldn't. And Vlad made a post that said, and a lot of people have a problem with that. Vlad, I'll say it right now. They just don't understand him. He spent his whole career with everybody taking a shit on him and calling him
Mhm.
things that he wasn't, and basically invalidating everything that he's accomplished. And that dude he's been steady kicking ass all along. And so now
Yeah.
Vlad's on top. He's the guy everybody's chasing, especially last year and the year prior.
Mhm.
So he put out a post that, this Worlds was kind of shitty because there's no John Van Buren, no Spencer Tyler, and some American pros he's never heard of, which I'm sure he was throwing shade a little bit there, talking some shit. I mean, that's what people do. And then I get a call from Bill um, talking about that post specifically. And I just flat out asked him, I said, yeah, why did I not get the invite? And his comment was that I hadn't competed. But when he made that comment, I had already competed, and who I think Blatnick hadn't yet, but he had a couple games coming up, and he had competed quite a few times the year before, and Damian Fisher had not competed. And so I called him out. I said, "Well, hey, Damian hadn't competed, and he doesn't have anything scheduled to Worlds." And he said, "Yeah, but he's been a podium athlete before." And I was like, "Well, I fucking won one."
Yeah.
Um,
What do you
So he's like, well, I'm going to try and squeeze you in. Would you be able to make it? So, yeah. Then this year comes out. I don't get the nod. Nothing happens. And the exact excuse he used for Damien, which was, well, he podiumed last year. It's like, well, I I came out not training and got third. Now I'm actually giving a shit again. I could really piss some people off this year, and haven't heard from Bill, haven't heard from anybody. I've been nothing but
Yeah.
loyal to those guys. There was a whole fallout with Loon Mountain and all that stuff, and I backed Bill and Holly the whole time and signed the petition. I've had their backs, and I don't know what happened. At the end of the day, I don't care. I would like to. I just, I'll prove to the world that it's a joke, and we're going to try and do it the right way.
Yeah.
The top guys are going to be there. I know for a fact, there's no doubt in my mind, if I show up, I'm on the podium. There's no doubt in my
Hmm.
mind. So I know for a fact a podium spot isn't going, and I don't have a good reason for that. He said he thought I had retired, but I've done at least a game every year. So I don't know. It is what it is,
Yeah.
but it leads into well, how are you doing your invites?
And again, you know what? If it and the reason it feels like a less than valid reason to me is because you could, as the organizer, say we're inviting the top whatever 8 pros who have competed at least 3 times this year. You could make that a part of your well-known structure for how people get invites. That would be somewhat valid. I'm sure you could find a reason to make that but you haven't.
Yep,
So why haven't you? You know?
yep.
Why why is it pick any other halfway legitimate sport and their championships, the qualifiers are known. Every powerlifting federation, all 380 of them, have a national championship, and you know what numbers and what class you need to go to nationals.
And the
You
rules,
know,
all the
and it's the
different
same.
rules for each federation. Yeah.
Fucking children's travel t-ball has clear cut rules on who goes where and what your organization needs. So how is it that hard to sit down and write out metrics for what you're looking for in your world championship?
It's not, and it needs to be transparent. And I would love to open up a line of communication with Bill, because at the end of the day, Bill's done a ton for this sport. And like I said, man, I was in Bill's pocket. I thought he was a heck of a guy, and I'm not saying he's not a heck of a guy. I'm just saying that some of the stuff that's happened the last 3 years doesn't make sense. And he used to have a very open line of communication with me, and somewhere along the line that just cut off. Don't know why. But again, I don't care. I just want, as long as we're moving forward, we're doing right. I don't want to get stuck in a rut and spin the tires. Tires might slow down a little bit, but
Mhm.
as long as they're fucking spinning and moving forward, we're doing something right. I don't want to move backwards. COVID moved us backwards like half
Yeah,
a decade.
by
It it,
years.
it was
Yeah.
terrible. Um,
Mhm.
but again, now it's and these guys are young. Vlad's not an old guy. I don't even know if Van
No.
Buren's fucking 30 years old yet. Kyle's still a young guy. You got
Yeah.
uh,
Burger. Yeah.
Burger's fucking young. You got Chase Esmial.
Graham.
He's
Yeah.
working his butt off. Graham. You've got all these freaks coming up that are
Mhm.
they're just scratching the surface of potential right now. I worked with Burger one day on lightweight, and he came in throwing, I think his best training throw was like 82 or 84. I might be making this up, but after one day and a couple cues, it's like, hey, let's try it my way and see what happens. Boom, 90 footers, 92 footers in training. So
It
that,
it it really was. It's wild to see what someone you never know it until you actually watch it happen, unless you spend time around these people that are just freak athletes. Like it, and just how quickly they're able to pick up on stuff. Because I know when someone gives me a cue, I have to sit there and hammer it and hammer it and hammer it
yep,
and wait for something to click. But then if you go actually take we Nick hung around last deer season and went to a couple of trainings with the guy that coaches us locally. And the speed that he was able to just pick up on some of that stuff was just it didn't make sense to me. Like you gave the guy 2 sheaf cues and his sheaf jumped up by like 12 feet.
yep.
I was like, what the fuck was that? How did like
Well, I'll tell you,
it's upsetting. I mean, it's exciting, but it's upsetting.
you're not picking it up fast enough because you haven't come down and worked with me yet. Now, what I've told everybody, and I believe this to be true, I'm very proud of what I've accomplished in this sport and sports prior, but this one specifically, I'm very proud of it. I'm not going to take anything away with it. I think it's fucking cool how good I got and how I took it seriously. I never wanted to lose again, and I accomplished that goal. Um, I maintain that I am a far better coach than I am an athlete, and I love coaching. Um, to the point where I've built a gym here on the property, and we're working to open that up to. We've had one pro camp here. I'll host a amateur camp somewhere along the line, but again, I want the elites to become elite. I truly
Hmm.
believe that I've cracked the code on the weight throws and the height events. I believe I cracked the code, and I want to share that to folks. And
Okay. Well,
the
hey, look, you send me a date, and I will come down there and let you
man, it's it's
let
it's
you
it's
download it.
it's pretty open, and I also maintain. Um, I maintain what I used to do a vlog and all that kind of crap.
Hmm.
And that was fun. But I always said in the vlog, say, hey, I throw on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time, and this is where I throw. If you show up, I can't help myself. I'm gonna coach you. I'm not gonna charge anything. Now, excuse me. Jesus Christ.
Hell yeah.
um, Now, like if somebody requests, like, hey, can I come down for a Saturday? If you're taking time away from my family, that's a little different. But if I plan a camp, I want to make the camp very affordable. I have a lot of space here on my property to house people. So if we make it, a 10 to 12 person camp, you don't have to pay for lodging, pitch in for food, and the actual it'd be at minimum a 2-day camp. It'd be a couple $100, and that's to pay for food, time. That's so
Hmm.
fucking cheap, and that's what I want to try to get out to people. Now, the pro ones that I do, I'm trying to do those for free. Um, and when I do host a camp, I want to invite a couple other pros in to also be coaches in their specialties, like
Hmm.
Berger coming in coaching stone. Have Scott Farr come in coach some hammers.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and get these guys paid on the side too. And I just want to break even. I'm not trying to make money on the camps. I'm trying to push the sport, but I can't put myself in
Yeah.
a bind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Um. Yeah. That'd be cool. Anyway, all right, all right, all right. I gotta keep myself from going down the Bill rabbit hole, and I gotta.
I mean, hey,
But so
people who know me, I don't bite my tongue. So if there's anything you want to ask, I'll give you an honest answer.
no, no, I'm trying to bite my own tongue of my own opinions because that I don't need to be doing all that.
Mm.
Um, back to your your championship series. So like, tell me what you can tell me about these platforms. I've never thrown off a platform. Like that's foreign to me. What because you said they're holding up, but like, is it a proprietary secret that you don't want to give away, or like,
No, not at
what
all.
can people expect if they go to one? You
No,
know?
so here's the deal too. I don't want anything to be proprietary. Um, So with this, build the platform. It's 6 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood. It's heavy as fuck, but it needs to be heavy so it doesn't go anywhere, and it's very,
Yeah,
very
and you don't
sturdy.
have it bowing and yeah. Hmm.
Right. And once you put it together, it's semi-permanent. Obviously, it's a lot of screws. You don't want to just you don't want to just screw the edges together. It's if you've ever done a hardwood floor and you do a base floor, you put 1,000 nails in
Hmm.
each one. You want to keep it together. You
Yeah,
don't want it cracking apart. As long as you keep it out of the weather, I mean, if it's treated plywood, it should hold up as long as you want it to hold up. And specifically, you've
yeah.
got to find field turf, do not go for, you can't get it at Lowe's. You can't get it at Home Depot. You need to go to an actual turf dealer. A lot of times you can find scrap. At minimum, you're going to need a 12 by 10. Usually the rolls are 12.5 foot or 15 foot wide. So you'll need
Hmm.
that by a minimum of 10 foot. So 12 by 10 at minimum. And basically, you just wrap the platform with that turf, the entire platform. Um, and I engineered my little homemade carpet stretcher where I just partially put screws through a 2x4 and I stand on top of it with a sledgehammer and just,
And
whack
just
between my feet to get it nice and tight. And then kind of like you do with the screws. You just put 1,000 staples in it to keep it down. Get long staples. But yeah, any little handheld staple gun works. And then you put your trick board on the front on top of the turf. And I've
Hmm.
made little axles. Once everything comes through, because yeah, they're heavy. They're several hundred pounds once they're all put together. It's 6 sheets of plywood, 3/4
Yeah.
inch plywood, and this is what I've used for the first, 4 that I've made, and they've turned out great. I'm sure there is another way to do it to make it a little easier to transport, but I'm working on that.
Yeah.
But basically, the setup, I don't know, people who grew up like I did and had to haul hay their whole life. So you have 2 sheets
Hmm.
of plywood here, and then 1 sheet of plywood that way. And then once you stack
Yeah.
on top, there'll be 2 this way, and then 1 the other way on back. So they kind of tie together, kind of how you would stack
Okay.
square bales.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. Are you if you're pushing towards standardization, how do you feel about sectors? I know I've talked it over with some people. I know Danny has started implementing them. Danny Webster at a lot of his games in the southeast. Is that something that you would be looking at doing in this series, or are you going to take it one bite at a time? You think?
So that's part of the conversation. It's really, really hard. It's really hard to figure out what we want to do with the sector based on how these throws are measured. Now,
Hmm.
people measure the throws differently. Some people will measure from the toe board where you released it. So,
Hmm.
typically you'll start on the back right corner, you'll finish on the front left. So some will measure from that front left corner. So if you can drive left and throw right, you're going to put footage on your throw. Some people always pull to dead
Yeah.
center of the toe board or the trig board. The way you do it in track and field is you have,
Pull the center of the throwing
yeah,
area.
there's a dot right in
Yeah.
the center, and the tape has to go through that dot. And that's how the sector's formed as well. That's a little
Hmm.
harder with a trig board, um, just basically because of the shape of it. Having a wing trig
Hmm.
helps out a lot. I am not
Yeah.
opposed to a sector at all. That was part of the initial conversation, because another thing I want to do to speed up the events again, to make it a little more digestible, is I want to have a foul line. So heavyweight for
Hmm.
distance in the pro league, 35 feet. If you don't throw 35 feet, you're not going to get a mark. It's a foul.
Yeah.
Lightweight for distance, if you don't throw 75 foot, it's a foul. Uh, that's going to be implemented, and if we do that, we're probably going to need sectors to do so. We had a sector at home
Hmm.
games, and it worked out fantastic.
Yeah. I really like the idea of a sector. I don't. I Without having actually pulled the tape on it, I plan on hopefully doing some real world testing because it's something I want to put into my games next year. But like, I don't think it's impossible. I don't mind the way Danny's done it. I think it could be done a little differently. I like the track and field way of pulling that tape toward the center of the throwing area and also
Yep.
having that be what's established your thing. I don't mind his little painted V on his trigs.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, I just, I, if we want the sport more approachable and digestible, I think when you already have a template like track and field, I think it behooves everyone to be a little bit more the thing like other people are already going to know?
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree.
like,
And it makes it easier for a crowd to see, like, oh shit, that one went significantly
yeah.
further. The lines say so,
Well, that was always yeah. And I like having those out there, or even we've talked about this ad nauseum, like, me and John Harding and I bounce ideas off of each other pretty frequently. And me and Matt used to when he was still in. And like, even at smaller games, if you don't have sectors and trigs and all that, like, okay, dude, grab some cones or some flags or something so
Yep,
that you can plant your leading throws as make it easier for the crowd to know where things are going.
100%.
It's not that hard to just grab some flags from Tractor Supply. You get like 24 of them for like a couple of bucks. And you can plant that marker out there for, here's our existing AM field record, here's our pro field record. You know, it
Yeah.
it helps you feed that narrative a lot better, and having good announcers that can go through and articulate that to the crowd makes
Well,
a
that
heck of a
that's
difference,
yeah, that's
you
another
know.
big one. A lot of the little intricacies, and this is part of it. Number one goal is standardization. But right behind it is um, again, I just making it more digestible and more entertaining to the crowd. And there's a lot
Hmm.
of things that I would like to do, to bump up the entertainment value from start to finish because, these competitions last a long fucking time. And it is really
Yeah.
hard as a spectator who does not have a throwing background to sit and watch and really get invested from start to finish. How do we improve that? Like, well, we've got to make it a little more exciting. Biggest way to do that is to
Hmm.
have a good announcer. Buck Buchanan's about as good as they come. Not only does he look the part, the dude looks fucking phenomenal with that ridiculous mustache he's got. He's super intelligent. He does his homework. He's got a good voice on the
Hmm.
mic. We had him mic'd up for the live feed, and it went fantastic. Yeah, the guy
Yeah.
kills it. So it would be great if we get to a point where I say, "Hey, Buck, you're on the team. Wherever we go, I want you to travel with us, and you're our dedicated announcer for the live feed and post and for the actual competition." Again, like I say, when the pros are on the field, that's what matters. I don't think announcements should be going on for other stuff when pros are actively throwing.
No, you touched on it earlier when we started talking about the worlds a few years ago. Like, because I was in the AM group and they completely separated us from where the pros were,
Mhm.
and a couple people in the AM group were sour about that, and I was like, no, they should be on the main field. That's the world championship. I'm more than happy to just fuck off to this little corner over here
Yeah,
just because I have an opportunity to throw. And like, isn't that neat? I don't need to be over there. I don't need an announcer. If we have the 12 best guys in the world, who cares that I just threw a PR on Wob? It's going to be less than every Wob throw that happens over there today. Like
yeah.
that's
I mean, it makes sense, from a 10,000 foot aerial view. It just makes more
uh-huh.
sense. The amateur groups are the amateur groups. I was an amateur. I traveled all over the fucking country to the best people I knew in each event. Whether it was John Irvin, Matt Vincent, driving out to Florida, working with Mike Babb here in Austin. I'd travel all over the place to get better at each individual event. That doesn't really happen much
Hmm.
anymore. People just aren't putting that effort in.
No.
I did have a kid come down not too long ago. That him and his mom drove all the way down here from, I believe it was Iowa or Illinois, to train for a day. And the dude, he's only freaking 18 years old and he's humongous. He's gonna be a hell of a thrower. I think he's got all the junior world records. But stuff
Nice.
like that doesn't people don't look at the amateur group as a stepping stone to become a pro anymore. They look at it as
Yeah.
we are the premier class because we're the biggest class. The amateur class is always going to be the biggest. That's the way it's supposed to be. The pro class
Hmm.
is the best of the best, therefore it has to be the smallest. Um, and again, it's got to mean something. And if
Yeah.
there's these pros, they put in so much fucking work and so much effort into being good at this thing that's Highland Games, and when you show up to an event and nobody gives a shit, it's, I don't know. I played music in college. It's like getting up on stage and playing and finishing a song and nobody even knows you're there. You're
Hmm.
just background noise. When that happens,
Yeah.
it sucks, man. And as an amateur, it's different. It's like, well, no, that's not for us. It's for them. Now, I don't necessarily think amateurs should be just moved. I think whatever the amateurs are doing, push pause because they may want to go watch and be a part of the pro group.
Hmm.
There's a lot of ways to do it, but I know when I was an amateur, I would have appreciated like, hey, can we just take a fucking break so we can watch the pros do their thing? When they're done, then we can keep back up.
Well, it's yeah. There's a thousand ways to skin that cat. I think you can still give your upper level, and this is something I've put a lot of thought into, and it's the reason I do the Blue Ridge Championships. But like, there's a way to give amateurs a moment to shine and something to strive for, but with the goal of, okay, we're going to find out who the best of these are to give them a stepping stone and something to shoot for so that they keep getting better. I don't want you to just be a good A for the rest of your career and just be a pain in the butt for people. And like that's not the goal. Like, cool, yeah, strive to be a good AM and then try to go to that next step.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna. as long as the logistics support it this year, I'm having my pros at Woodridge are going to throw alongside the Blue Ridge Championship group. They're going to intermingle so that the upper level AMs who are on that cusp of turning pro can have an opportunity to watch pros, to rub elbows with them, to try and, talk to them beforehand. Because I had to come to the realization that, like, my game is the weekend before Celtic. If I bring the best of the best here, they're not going to throw balls to the wall because they have to throw at Celtic a week or two later. Totally reasonable. So how can I still feed money and attention into the pro class to try and uplift it, but also try and pull the amateurs up to give them some reason to get better? And I think having more time to actually watch pros throw and to do that is a great use of the day. Like,
Yeah,
let them do that.
I'm a huge fan of pro-ams. I think
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome way to push the sport. It's an awesome way, again, you know, we're, half a dozen one way, six the other. We're kind of, sharing a brainwave here on ways to grow the
Hmm.
sport and ways, there's stepping stones. Like, well, how do you qualify for a pro at ham? Well, you got to be a top level amateur. And,
Hmm.
even incentivize that. Like, hey, if you crack into the top three as a pro am, you get a pro card or you get an automatic invite to one of these series games that I'm doing. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
Or there's still, moderate amounts of cash on the table. I found is a great thing because you might pull some really good athlete from strongman or track and field or whatever that already knows they're going to shine in one or two events. Like your strongman guys are going to clean up on wob and potentially caber. Your track and field guys maybe on stones or hammers. Like, cool. Hey man, come throw in this pro am. Yeah, you're probably going to get your dick kicked in when we throw sheaf and weights. But like, hey, you might cover your gas money and stuff because you're going to podium on stones or you're going to
yep,
podium on wob, and like you'll get a real world taste of how competitive and how cool that atmosphere is. And I think that's how you draw some of those already decent athletes in other sports to try and get their foot in the door here and realize they could be better at it.
yep,
Because nothing's going to fuel people like that other than, hey, I podiumed in this particular event, but I've got a lot of work to do in these other ones. I need to buy a set of implements and I need to go train and I need to put effort into it. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's like an education. Some of the best ways to
yeah.
learn is full immersion. So, what do? You get in a crop with people that are so much better than you. You you're going to do one of two things. You're going to cower and you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I can never do this. Or if you're a competitor, which most people who are competing in Highland Games and are striving to become better, you've got that competitive nature. If you go compete and get your dick stomped in the dirt, not a good feeling. You don't want it to happen again. Some people walk away from it. Some people say, no, fuck that. Whoever's in front of me, I'm going to beat them next time. And you keep chasing the
Hmm.
person in front of you. I work with a guy right now, Chase. And when I first started working with him, he was brand new. He's like, I want to, this. And I was like, hey, man, one rung at a time. You can't climb a ladder 10 rungs at a time. Like, get on the
Yeah.
leaderboard, find out who's right in front of you. That's your goal. They got a target on their back.
Hmm.
If you leapfrog a few people in the process, fucking great. But chase the person in front of you and just get better. Be better today than you were yesterday. You know,
Yeah. I mean, talk about something that COVID killed for years and it's setting us back. I think was a lot of that mentality because I used to be able to pre-COVID go to a game and I knew at least three guys that I was throwing against who were that. They were the next rung up the ladder. And I could say, all right, I'm going to a game in the Southeast. I'm going to see, John Harding while he was still an amateur or Chris Carr or somebody that I knew was just a couple steps ahead of me. And I was like, sweet, I'm going to go there and I'm going to try and beat them in something.
yep.
Cool. And then COVID just shook everything up and people fell off and it just got so murky again that I think we're starting to level back off. Um, like I'm seeing a lot of new good amateurs come into the sport who I think are having a good experience and are kind of able to chase that again, which is great.
Yeah, I
But
agree. The biggest thing I'm saying too is people putting the work in. Like,
Mhm.
the comment was made years ago. I don't remember who made it. Hell, it might have been me. But like, god dang, the last thing we need is another giant fat slob. that's just coming out here so he can go back Monday morning to work and tell his coworker, "Hey, I did a strongman thing." Um, you
Hmm.
know, the sport needs people who take it serious. Obviously, the weekend warriors, I have no problem with that. Come out, throw, but just your expectations have to be different than those who are striving to be the best of the best. You
Yeah.
got to take yourself serious. Like me, I had to remind myself this year. I didn't perform like I hoped to at the games a couple weeks ago, but I did really well in the first four events and then just gassed out. And I started to feel piss poor about it. And then I realized, hey, I haven't earned the right to be mad because I haven't trained hard enough at these other ones. Like
Hmm.
I'm just kind of being a bitch. Like you've got to earn the right to be upset with your performance. You can't just show up and
Yeah.
only practice at games, at competitions, and then get pissed off if it doesn't go your way. It's like, well, shit, you're not putting in the work. It's kind of a kick in the face to everybody else who's busting ass if you're over here complaining, even if you always throw like shit. Um, if you're not putting in the work to get better, then you're just doing it for fun. And you have to have that realization, like, hey, this is just a fun hobby. This isn't something I'm trying to pursue to, actually make
Hmm.
money or actually be super competitive. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a
Yeah. And
mentality
that,
block that says, no, I deserve more because I'm here too. No, you haven't earned shit.
well, it's kind of what I talked about. I mean, shoot, we've been doing this for almost an hour now. But earlier with the people who act like a game trying to progress the sport is somehow taking something away from them, and it's not. I think there just has to be a shift in mindset. I think we need more of everything. We need more upper level clear cut championships and games and series and all of these things. But by the same token, dude, go host more backyarders, do small festivals, talk to your local brewery that happens to have a unicorn on the flag and see if they'll let you do a 5 eventer in their backyard. Like, because the backyard games and the small festivals are the places that those people should be going who just want a weekend warrior it. But they're
100%.
also super approachable. And that could be the game where someone just happened to be in town and happened to go and go, wait a second, I beat the brakes off of every other person there. How do I go do more of this?
Yep.
How do
Yep.
I? And it all feeds the same thing. Adding more at one level doesn't take away from anything. People just need to be honest with themselves and go, where do I fit in? What can I do? Like, I've had 1,000 ideas for my games that I have to check myself on because I have to go, it's a 3-year game. It's still getting its legs under it. We're just going to control what we can control and try. And I could try to have a big ego about it and go, no, I'm going to go do this, that, and the other. And I'd burn out in 4 years and it would be gone forever.
Yeah.
Or I can try and slow build it and figure out where it's going to fit into the puzzle and be okay with where it's going to fit in. If it always stays at that, mid to upper level, then great, because we need more of those. If it gets bigger and more important, great. We need more of those too. We need more of everything. So
Right.
it's not taking away from anyone just because someone comes in and says, I also want to do this and I'm going to do it this way. Sweet. Go do it. You
Yeah.
know? I,
Yeah, and kind of what we're hoping is, and I've got a small team put together. I got somebody out there that's trying to chase sponsorships. I've got a little team here. Chase is part of that. Really bouncing ideas off of, and again, where I sit is I try and be wildly transparent. So if somebody has ideas, and everybody who's come here, with Scott and with Berger and Nick, they've all come here to train, and it's one of those things like, hey, if y'all got any ideas, let's throw shit at the wall right now. Like anything. We'll
yeah.
sift through it. I don't care if it's a bad idea. It might sound silly, but there might be some tweaks to make it a phenomenal idea. And, I even want to change the showmanship of the game. If Steel Chainsaw Timber Sports would be listening to this by some crazy happenstance, it would be great. Like, Steel, I would love to get you involved. How fucking awesome would it be for a big premier game to go out the night before, bury a caber about 2 foot deep in the ground, and have Steel show up with one of their super saws and cut it down at the end of opening ceremonies, and that's our challenge caber for the day.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
dude,
it's not that crazy. So
that'd be a
the
huge
place that I dude, the place I run my game at, they've talked to them about hosting like the lumberjack sports at their venue as well.
right.
Like so yeah, no, it's not crazy at all. That'd be great. There's 1,000 ways for all of us to benefit from the same thing,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it seems like a no-brainer to get Blue Chew to sponsor a caber. I mean,
I'm not opposed. Do we get free samples? Is that going to be a
I mean, we better just throw them out to the kids.
yeah? Oh man, the hardest, the
Yeah.
hardest Highland game. Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
I love
But,
it.
but Caber being a
Yeah, they're my
premier
sponsor.
event, I think it would be cool too to make Caber a little more in a crowd a long way away from an actual caber. You don't realize how big these sons of bitches can get. When you're standing
Hmm.
right next to one that's picked up and somebody's holding it, and you look up, you realize, oh my God. So I would love to implement some kind of caber runway and have that be a final event. And I've had some talk. Some people are like, well, should caber count as much as it does? Like, well, yeah, it should. It is the most traditional, the most recognizable event. It should weigh a
Hmm.
lot. It's the one that it can make or break your entire day. You can go out and win every single event. Somebody right behind you is in second all day, and then you get dead last in caber and you lose a championship. It is what it
Hmm.
is. I think it's one of those things that needs to be highlighted a little better while maintaining a level of safety, obviously. But if you've got a 20-foot caber, then have a 45-foot runway or a 60-foot runway. 60 foot's not terrible,
Yeah.
but you've got a crowd on either side of you while you're running the stick.
Hmm.
I think it'd be super cool.
Yeah.
But
I that is one thing. Like speaking of what they did at Worlds up in Maine a few years ago, having Hammer out on that field that was a billion yards away from everyone
it was retarded.
was the goofiest thing
It was
in the
so
world.
retarded. It was.
Like I
That's
remember
what.
they're standing there with Matt, and everyone's huddled under the shade of that one little announcer tower,
Yep.
like, and the crowd is 400 yards away. What?
And we're throwing
What are you
away
talking
from the
about?
crowd. Like they have no
Yeah.
fucking clue what's going on. It's not Olympic Hammer. We're not in a stadium surrounded by people. Like get up close. It's not. Man, that was such a dumb move. Uh, yeah.
It was. It was
And
very
you know
goofy.
what? You know what makes that such a shitty move? Because Kyle Lilly stepped the fuck up. That was
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a look on Lily's face like I did when he stepped up and won heavy hammer on his last throw. Dude,
Hmm.
I have never been more fired up for another athlete. Kyle's a hell of a good guy. He worked his ass off last year. And when he was going into hammer, I could tell whether he would ever admit it or not. He was a little dejected because I think he felt that he was kind of losing grip on having a chance at winning.
Hmm.
And then when he fucking uncorked his 114, that was huge. And
Dude, he
nobody
lit up.
saw it. Nobody fucking saw it. Like, what? That's exactly my problem with this sport. Like, that was probably, for me personally, I was competing, but I'm always a fan too. As a fan, that was the biggest moment of the game. Um,
Yeah.
Watching Vlad do his thing was huge. I'm so fucking excited for Vlad and how good he's doing right now. But that one moment where he was on the cusp of not having a chance to he just turned around and said, fuck you to everybody else. That was awesome. And,
Yeah.
it didn't work out. Things didn't work out, but he set himself up to still have a chance. And nobody saw it. Nobody in the crowd saw it. We had to go explain it. My brother, my sister-in-law, they all traveled up there with us. And even my brother was like, man, this is the first competition he's ever watched. And he was like, that was the dumbest thing ever. Why did y'all move over there? He's like, it seems like there was plenty of room on the field. I said, yeah, you're not wrong. And
Hmm.
that's just a dude with no experience, just watching. He's a 100% spectator, but he's following us just because he's,
Hmm.
involved familially, if that's a word. But
It's close enough to the word,
yeah, good.
but yeah, it made no sense. Like having the crowd close is so valuable
Yep.
to any of the stuff we try and do. Like, I've talked about it 1,000 times. Last year at the Blue Ridge Championship, we had two amateurs max out our sheaf standards, and like just a back and forth between these two guys for that entire time. But like the crowd was right up on top of them,
Yep.
and it was awesome. And everyone's cheering, and you can watch them get pissed off when it doesn't go over, or watch them celebrate when it did. And like, I was on the mic the whole time, like giving them a play by play of this guy's in first, but this guy could, oh, he just took it. He's got to come. Like, it just makes it so much cooler for everyone that's hung around all day. And now they finally get to get up close and personal and watch this whole back and forth happen. It,
Yeah.
yeah, putting
When you
hammers.
see, yeah, dude, when you see a single event effort that just really changes things for the whole competition, that stuff has to be broadcasted. And when you do it, yeah, on the other side of the fucking road behind the entire event is so stupid. I've never
Yeah.
understood it.
On
I
the other
understand.
side of a horse track, and then tack on another 80 yards just for shits
Yeah.
and giggles to push
Yep.
it out even further.
Yep. And we went out there and we scoped it out and we got to pick like where we set up. And god dang, I see my buddy's about to walk in. I'm gonna have to give him the finger. But anyway, we kind of got to pick where we set up, and we're walking through there, and all of us are looking at each other like, "This is so stupid." Just kind of couldn't really
Yeah.
believe what we were kind of what we were kind of doing here. It's supposed to be already figured out. Why are we doing this on the fucking spot at a world championships? Why are we away from all the eyeballs? There's not even an announcer over there. It's a throwaway
Hmm.
event, It's like why are we even
Yeah.
contesting it at this point?
Yeah. Right quick, since you got people showing up and I feel like we're gonna have to wrap up soon. The one other thing I want to touch on, if you can just give an overview. You're
I
talking
got
about
I got
four
plenty of time,
throws
man. You're
and
good.
oh, okay. All right. Cool. Good. The comp implements through four throws.
Yeah.
What how much of that do you have fleshed out, or do you have a rough idea? Like, because I had floated something like that before where like ADs could at a minimum send in photos of the implements that they're going to use on game day on scales and with dimensions to try and certify that their games are legit. Because I kind of mentioned it earlier. Me personally, I like the athletics. I don't care if there's a bagpiper. I think checking that box shouldn't matter as much as, is the 56 pounds? Do you have decent handles? Are your hammers the right length and the right weight? Is your sheaf bag not a piece of shit?
Yep.
I so what is this four throws making implements gonna look like? Like, what can people maybe expect, or is it a little too early to try and flesh that out just yet?
No, so I've been doing this a long time. I speak to the other athletes, talk to them about their preference, and kind of come to a consensus on we want things that are going to go far, and we want things that are comfortable in
Hmm.
the hand. And so my thought is a spherical weight for the weights. I don't like the Polanic. I don't like a swivel in the middle.
Yeah.
And this is my personal preference, and everybody who's actually took time to think about it has seemed to agree with me. I do not like a
I like
swivel.
being able to torque the weight a little bit. I agree.
Exactly.
I
I,
like kind
I
of that
like I
feeling
like
of when you
feeling
get
tension.
wrapped and that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like feeling
Hmm.
tension on the chain. So, and I like the pi or half moon handle. Um,
Yeah.
all of my biggest throws in heavyweight have been from a D handle, but D handles are harder on your hand. That half
Hmm.
moon handle is pretty comfortable. So we're gonna play with a couple things. If it, I'll need to reach back out to him here soon. But for a comp weight for the weight throws and the hammers, they will be spherical. The hammers will try to be as small as possible. I don't know if it'll need to be a lead filled hammer with. I don't know. I'll have to talk to them about that. Um,
Hmm.
but everything is small, we want to make flyers. And again, as far as
Yeah.
records, the CCS will have its own set of world records, and it will be the legitimate set of world records because there's no question. There's no question. It was
Yeah.
done on the same platform. It was done with the same fucking weight. It was done with the same stone. Berger came up with a stone mold that's genius, and it feels great. So it would be a good way to standardize an open stone. The only one we'd have problem with really is Braemar, but if you have one, it's like, okay, we'll standardize it as much as we can. Like you can't do like Pleasanton does and throw something the size of a basketball that's like I hate that thing. That's why I want to
Dude,
get rid of it.
that's a whole other soapbox. Why the
Yeah.
fuck do some of these games take pride in having implements that are hard to throw?
Yeah. Again, make that
I
an
don't.
exhibition, make that a separate event. Like the Portland when they used to, they had
Mhm.
the Portland Stone, and that was a separate event, but it counted towards the overall.
Yeah,
It shouldn't, because nobody trains it. Everything
yeah.
we're
I don't want
doing
to go
for
find a
points.
35-pound rock.
Yeah, the one in
Stupid,
Portland I think was 108 pounds. Um, yeah, it was retarded. It was fun, but it shouldn't count to the aggregate because
dude. Get an
nobody trains
event
it.
sponsor and hand out. Yeah, get an event sponsor and hand out $100 to the winner of that one, and make it a cool sideshow. But
Too
don't
easy.
make that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'd throw
totally
that
agree.
rock for a $60 Wawa gift card. Like that's fine, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to. I don't want that to be a part of my overall.
Shit, I'd
That's
throw it for
just
a roll of stamps. Whatever,
that's what. Yeah. Hey, $20 is $20,
That's
but
right.
yeah, it just I've never understood some of that. I got a speech at a game last year, a game I won't be going back to, where they were like, "We've got this Braemar, and it's heavier than any other Braemar you've thrown, and it's only ever, you're not going to throw it far." I'm like, why the fuck did I drive 6 hours to be down here then?
Yep.
Like I'm trying to put good marks in because I want to climb the ranks because why am I going to waste my day to come have a Braemar throw in that I'm frankly embarrassed other people can see?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, in the rankings, it just says Braemar, and everybody's going to be like, he threw the Braemar 30 feet that day. And
Yep.
I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no asterisk that says, and it was stupid heavy and stupid shaped. Like, no, it just
I
looks like
mean,
I sucked.
Victoria in Canada, they do it right. They have an extra event, the keg for distance, and all the athletes run around with beer pitchers getting donations for the winner of the keg toss. Like it's a spectacle,
Oh,
and the fucking
I
crowd
like
loves
that a
it.
lot. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, the crowd fucking loves it because now they're 100% vested. They paid. So, they're like, "Oh, yeah, the winner, the best in the world at this event got my dollar bill." Like
Mhm.
that's kind of cool. So they're sponsoring the event. That's it's so easy to do. It takes a little bit of extra time, and as long as you're running a pretty tight ship with these games, they shouldn't last all fucking day. You
No.
should have
No, you can
somebody.
get these games in and out in 8 hours 99.9% of the time,
Yeah.
like with a lunch break in the middle and like, yeah.
And again, if you're capping the class at 10 pros, and I'm speaking specifically on a pro group, if you've got 10 pros, everybody knows what they're doing. The pros don't need to be a part of the pregame meeting out in the middle of the field. We've been around the block. We know what's going up. Let us warm up. So the moment opening ceremonies is done, if you want to kick it off with pros, we're taking first throws within 10 minutes of opening ceremonies. And then it's a rolling start. We just keep kicking ass. And then
Mhm.
either right before hammer or right after hammer, you take your break to get some food, but try to roll right through, man. The only thing that bottlenecks is height events. And usually that bottlenecks because a class is waiting on another class. So that's something we got to try and get away from.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. Let's see. Trying to. So, do you have a model worked out? I know you ran a game or ran the No Fame game in line with the way you want to do this. Do you have the model worked out as to how you would actually push this out and scale it? Like, uh, how does the Celtic Championship Series take effect? Like, how do games sign on, get interested, become a part of it? Like, what does that look like for an AD who wants to be a part of that, or how does that system operate?
Well, the path to do that right now is 100% through me, which again is why it's taken a little bit of time. I'm slowly reaching out to folks, but the number one thing right now is to start implementing the platform. I think that's key. Um, and the biggest thing too is now you're not having to move around the field. The crowd knows where everything's going to be. It's all going to be in the
Hmm.
same fucking spot, and it's going to be for X amount of time. It's all going to be right here, men and women, however you want to set it up. Um, and we want to standardize things. Again, I don't want a big retarded Braemar being thrown. The open stone should not exceed 17 pounds, and it should not drop below 16 pounds. It's got to be between
Yeah.
16 and 17 pounds. Braemar should not exceed 22. Um, well, for a record to count, I'll say it should not exceed like 23 and a half and should not go
Hmm.
below 22. Everything else, the weights are
Yeah.
standard, the lengths are standard. And like you said, it needs to be verified before the event, so there's no question. I will say this.
That's something I've always wondered why people don't do ahead of time. I get wanting to double verify afterward. I don't understand ADs not taking the time before the game, pre-game, paint your implements, clean them up, and then just set them on a scale.
Yep.
What are they weighing? Am I true to what I have promised ahead of time?
Also,
You
if
know?
you're light, it's very easy to add weight to implements before the game.
Mhm.
If you're a couple ounces light, figure it out. Weld a bead to the top of it. Add a little bit of weight. It's
Yeah.
not that fucking difficult. Change your
Or
handle out.
you shackle one length of chain. It's not rocket science, but some people act like it is for whatever reason.
Well,
So,
it's complacency is the death of this sport.
yeah.
People, they're like, well, this is how we've always done it. I'm like, yeah, well, do you want to grow or not? If you're fine being here,
And if
then
you're not growing, you're dying. And I don't know why some people don't wrap their head around that.
yep.
That just because, all right, cool, your event has always been here and always had roughly the same number of people, but eventually it doesn't. Like when I stop hitting record, I'm gonna say some things that aren't on air. But like
Nice.
some of these games are even struggling to find amateur throwers, much less pro throwers, or they're
Yep.
dropping pro class. You're not doing the same thing. You are going to fizzle out. It is going to go away if you aren't trying to add more to it in some way, shape, or fashion.
Yeah, it's all about quality, not quantity, and that's what these people do
Mhm.
not understand. Having 100 athletes show up is not near as good as having the 10 best pros in the area show up. It's not,
No, because
because the
if you did the
crowd.
things that we've talked
Go
if
ahead.
you did the things that we've talked about with good pros, good announcers, it's digestible, it's clear. And if we are an entertainment product while we're at the festival, that is more entertaining than 40 B athletes all bombing out at 12 feet on wob.
Yeah,
Like all day long. You know?
exactly. It's like showing up to a freaking Pee Wee League soccer match just as a spectator, not as a parent, just going to watch, and you're at a place that has 7 different fields playing 7 different games. You can't fucking focus on anything. The focus
No,
has
and
to
they all
be,
look the same.
yeah, the focus has to be driven. It has to be dialed in, and there is, the jury's out on it. A crowd of spectators is gonna want to see the best in the world versus a whole fucking shit pot of just okay throwers, you know? And
Mhm.
that's not taking a stab again, like not it's not to say that these festivals that have these just get rid of that altogether. It's like, no, if you have a day that is your most attended day, that's when the pros are there. And if you want to run somebody after the pros at night, whatever, then do that. But run the amateur class on Sunday or Friday or whatever. That's how it
Mhm.
used to fucking be. I don't get, everybody got so worried about hurting feelings. It's like, God damn it. Who cares? Like,
Well, they got
listen.
worried about hurting feelings, and they realized they couldn't afford anything anymore because they kept doing things the same way.
Uh-huh.
Sponsors, the companies that sponsor you have a higher overhead than they've ever had.
Yep.
Like they are having to participate with inflation and all these other things. And if their return on investment has stayed the same with you for years, they're not going to pay you. So they're going to start cutting pro classes and they're going to start trying to do that to try and continue to have a festival. And it's just not going to fucking work.
Yeah.
Like it's going to go away.
Yep. Well, it's just
And,
it,
and, and
and it's like, I mean, I see all your Euro mounts behind you. If you know anything about hunting, in deer populations, if you don't control the population, the deer all shrink. They all get small
Mm-hmm.
in the body. Fish is the same way. If I've got a stock tank. If I don't pull out the big fish that I catch and I just keep throwing them back, everything shrinks to about 1.5 pounds max. Same with deer. Out
Mm-hmm.
here there were so many deer running this place rampant when we first got here when I was a kid, and they were all teeny tiny. And we talked to a lot of the neighbors, started managing the property a little better. Now we got some monsters running around here, and that's 100%
Yeah.
because you thin the herd. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not saying we need to go out
Yeah.
and
And
shoot shitty athletes, but
no, but the act of look, you're not the first person to float that on this podcast, but the
but I don't want to get
the
clipped on this. Like I want participation in the games. It's so fun. It's so
yeah.
fun to compete. It's a brand new thing. There is a whole culture involved. Get out, do it, but just have realistic expectations.
And I think the whole idea of it, like you said, the one of the ways to skin the cat of your premieres on Saturday and everyone else on Sunday, it you should fall into one of two groups on Sunday. Either you're the weekend warrior people who you're just happy to be there, or you're competitive. And it's okay that throwing on Sunday made you uncomfortable and upset. It should. If you want to throw on Saturday, get better. There's a very easy
Yep.
way for you to now throw on Saturday.
Yeah. And
You
I
either
want to.
need to go, yeah.
Yeah. And it seems I don't know. This sport it's because there's no clear cut line between pro and amateur. And
Mhm.
Scotland does it Scotland's way. You show up, you pay, you throw. It doesn't matter who you are. You're throwing with the best. Everybody gets paid. That's all fine and good. But I'll tell you what, people in Scotland, when I threw over there really weren't any shitty throwers. Everybody was pretty good, even the
Mhm.
locals, because they have a local competition that's also built into the big competition. You can win the local pot and get a big pot of money. And if you also win the overall, you double dip. So they have it set up. So all these people, they train for their local competitions year round. They put a lot of effort into it. You can't do that in the
Mhm.
States. And this sport is way bigger
Yeah.
in the States than it is overseas because we just have so many more athletes. But I can't
Yeah,
drive
our
to every
country isn't the
competition.
size of New Hampshire. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Up
crazy how
and
that works.
up until a couple years ago, there was only one pro game in Texas. There wasn't any in Oklahoma, none in Louisiana, nothing in New Mexico. So for me to drive to a game, I had to drive at least 2 states. And anybody who knows anything about Texas, I'm right in the fucking middle. It takes 8 hours for me to get out of the goddamn state. Like it's just it doesn't make sense. So you got to fly everywhere. It's a lot more expensive to compete and travel here than it is overseas. So we've got to find a way to mitigate that. We've got to incentivize sponsors to attach themselves to athletes to help with travel, to make all this stuff more feasible. It is a
Mhm.
monumental task that we're trying to accomplish. And for it to get to where I want it to be, realistically, best case scenario, 5 years down the road, we're kind of getting close to the tip of the top. Really, I would
Mhm.
love to run a championship game in 2028. Best case scenario, we can do it in 27, but everything has to go right, you know, and that's
Yeah.
asking a lot. So I want at least 6 regional games, and then I have to talk to somebody in Europe as well because I got to have the European guys have a shot at this. Any Euros
Mhm.
listening, Sheaf is going to be contested at Worlds because it is a fan favorite event. Period. There's no arguing that. People love the event. Um, so get yourself a goddamn fork. Start throwing the Sheaf. Figure it out.
Yeah. They'll figure it out. Two things. One, how do you standardize? Are you throwing hammer off this platform, or
No,
do you have? Okay, is
not
that still going to be
yet.
thrown off ground? Okay.
It will be off ground, not yet. But again, you know, Burger Burger's fired up. Burger has already come up. It's kind of funny. He did something that I was toying around with, but I hadn't really put it together. So he actually has a way that we could throw hammer off the platform with hammer boots. Basically, we would pancake or sandwich the blades between two stall mats. Just got
Mhm.
to find a way if something does give, some kind of way to replace it quickly, and got to do some test
But
runs.
also, if you fall over, you're not going to tear your knee in half because you are glued to the ground. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But it would be great to standardize that too, because that's one of the biggest gripes in Hammer is you never know if your foot's going to blow out. It'd be nice to know that when you're in, you're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a real that's tricky. I mean, it's not impossible. It just is someone smarter than me will figure it out, which
Yeah.
is usually the way that goes. Um, but so then you keep talking about a clear cut path to pro in this series or in this world. What does that look like to you? Like I've had this conversation ad nauseum with like Danny Webster and Josh and like and back in the day, like you mentioned KO. So like when KO and Valeni and Dan McKim and all those guys were throwing, like it almost felt like there was a really hard line of pro started here. And I feel like especially post COVID, that line has gotten really blurred, you know? Like people were just taking invites if they got them, even if they weren't, what would have been considered pro material 8
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. So it's
What
turned
is
in it's turned into Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy. Just walk out
Yeah,
and
I didn't say it. I
yeah.
declared it.
I
Yeah.
declare I'm a pro athlete now. And you're 100% right. There are some people who are pros that have absolutely no fucking business being pros. But games will pay to have them there. So if that's the case, that's the case. The realistic outlook on this CCS versus the current pro structure is mine's going to be different. To compete as a pro in my circuit, there will be a point total that you have to meet at some point
Right.
throughout the year. You have to, and I don't know what that is yet. We're literally taking up data from this year and last year, looking at the pros, looking at the arc where it is. Should it be 6,700 points? I'm jaded because when we use NASGA, when I first came out, I'm like, yeah, pro, you have to have at least a 7,500 point total. And I'm looking
Mhm.
back, it's like, I had like over 9,000 one year. I'm like, shit, you should be able to do that. Now I'm looking back, I'm like, well, fuck,
Yeah.
that's actually a
Well,
lot.
we should never have over 9,000. That was because no one bothered to update fucking NASGA. But yeah.
Right. Or sorry, I was close to 9,000.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, going, so the point total will probably land around that 6,500, and it'll be like an Olympic standard. The Olympic standards change every year. If the crop of athlete raises in the amateur
Yeah.
group
All of
and
a
in the
sudden it's a
pro group,
6,700 point or a,
exactly.
7. And
And that'll be adjusted year by year. It might just be set in stone because I don't want you to show up to a meet and win by default because somebody that should have whipped your ass bombed out in 2 events and have
Mhm.
that be it's a chance to get your pro card at that competition because you can
Yeah.
still not be that good and get a pro card because somebody else fucked up.
I I agree. I don't think the winning a competition is a great model for our sport because you
Yeah,
can game that system much easier than you can game a point total.
yeah,
You
sure.
can still
No,
game a point total a little bit, don't get me wrong. You can, farm games with friendly fields for hammer or friendly, but I
not
think
not
it
with
comes out in the
not with
wash
the
a lot more,
CCS,
you know?
and that's just it. Not with the CCS, and that's why it will grow to incorporate amateur numbers too. Because I have no problem if we're doing one and there's a high level amateur group on Sunday. Leave the platform out there, have them throw the same implements. If there's somebody that's going to go out there
Mhm.
and shock some folks, then let's put their numbers into the database and see where they land. I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but there needs to be a point total. And yeah, you can't go
Mhm.
to, I talked shit to Lily about going and throwing old Sputnik at Colorado. I'm like, man, go
Mhm.
break that record, but don't do it there because everyone PRs with that weight. There's a reason for that. Everyone throws hammers well there. There's a reason for that. Everybody
Mhm.
knows these things. I literally stopped going there because I didn't want that question. Um, but it is what it is. But that's one of those things like, yeah. And I know there was an athlete back in the day. I won't say his name because he's a total piece of shit. But he tried to, say that a world record will only count if there's a certain grade on the field. But nobody's going to go out there and survey the fucking field. Uh,
No.
but if you look at it with the naked eye and you're like, damn, that's downhill, then come on.
Yeah.
Like that's what a platform's great for is you bring a couple bags of sand, and you can level a platform out wherever the fuck you want. You know,
Hmm.
so that's the goal, man. As far as a path to becoming pro in this series, it will be based on a point total, and
Nice.
we can piggyback off. I know Nazca's being rebuilt right now, and they're trying to do it the right way, which I'm really excited about that. But piggyback off Nazca for the amateur numbers, and like you're talking
Hmm.
about doing a pro am, have a pro am game with the CCS. Like, hey, let's give these guys a chance to become pros in this, because once you get your pro card here, you've got it for the rest of the year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And as long as
Yeah.
your standard throws and you're consistent, there's no question year over year. But if you're right on the cusp, you might have to requalify the following year, but that won't be terribly difficult.
All right. Cool.
As you can tell, there's a lot of thought that's going into it, and a lot of it is
Yeah.
still all out here. So we're trying to really bring everything in and make it just like you said, starting this podcast off. It's clear cut. There's no questions as to this. Those are, pain points are going to come up throughout the life of this thing, but we're going to try and mitigate it as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, and aside from the word standardization, much earlier you used one of my favorite words, which was transparency, which I think is what some of these other games we've talked about are lacking. And like, there's only two reasons for lacking transparency, and it's either laziness or it's because you're doing something you don't want people to see. It's it's one or the other, and I don't think either of them's good. And I think they're. Oh, I still got you. Um, you're good. I don't honestly. I don't know which one's worse: intentionally being subversive or being lazy. I think they're both terrible for the sport. I It is not that hard to just go onto your website or Facebook page because God fucking damn it, every place just runs a Facebook instead of a website, which is also a barrier to the sport, and we need to stop doing that. But like, it's not that hard to just write out what you're doing and why you're doing it,
Yep.
and it'll either work or it won't. I, the lack of transparency in some of these things, especially things that call themselves championships on any level, drives me
Yeah.
up a wall.
So that's part of the, again, the website's there. I haven't put a lot of effort into it yet. It is active, but there will be a rules page that lays out
Hmm.
everything. And, the rules aren't really changing, but we're actually going to enforce them. And I really don't know how more to go down the road of being transparent other than just saying, if anybody has a question, there's going to be an email. And again, if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer for it. As far as this is concerned, it should be wide open. There should be no questions. And if there is one, it should be answered expediently.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So. All right. Well, hey, I think we've hit a lot of points. We've yapped for now an hour and a half. I think in the interest of keeping this digestible, we can call it. And then if something changes, man, just come back on anytime. If there's updates for this or whatever, I'm excited to see where it goes. A year, 2 years, 5 years from now.
Heck yeah,
I
man.
think it's cool either way. So I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yes, sir. It was fun.
Good.
What?